beautiful people. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I hope everybody enjoyed the Day of Atonement. Some people I know are still celebrating the Day of Atonement because they actually started Sunday night. And actually, in my calendar, they got it starting last night, which I know it's off. We all know it's off, but we know this year was the closest year that they had to the feast days that they actually, followed it, but they're not following it. So they just kind of set it in here on certain days for whatever method they use. But we know it's wrong because they got Feast of Tabernacles starting when we end. Notice I've been wrapping. It's funny you should mention that, Tiffany. Yes, I have started wrapping my hair again. Well, when I'm out in public. Sometimes when I'm around the house, I leave it unwrapped. Are you asking me why? What's it is? Type this in. I can tell you why. Okay. I like head wraps, but I wasn't like, wrapping it like every day because, I wear my hair down, free and flowy and stuff. Proverbs 13. I never made a big deal out of it. I really didn't. Some people do as they transition in learning about who we really are and where we descend from, and as they get more into the Hebrew roots. Greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. Greetings. As they get more into the Hebrew roots and stuff, they was like, oh, well, the women need to wrap their hair and stuff. And, but I was never really big on it. I wrap my hair when I want to wrap my hair. And if not, right? So that was just my take on it. Not a big, if you wrap yours you feel like, then go ahead. I never had anything. Nothing against those who did, right? So, well, let me tell you. I got it written down. I can't look at it up here because I have to log in and it would take too long to do that. But I say from the time it's been about, 2 weeks now, and I'm still doing, working on it or whatever. But anyway, okay, so if you didn't know, I've taken a Nazarite vow, right? Okay, so let me just set that right there so you'll understand why with the response that I got from y'all, you will understand. Okay, so one day, almost 2 weeks ago, I was laying across my bed, just laying there, about to take a nap, but I was praying, I was thinking about stuff, So, it was about a little after 6 p.m. I could tell you the exact date. I got it because I keep everything in I got like a dream folder and a folder where I hear y'all speak to me, and I'll type it in, but it's always open on my phone. And I forgot my password. I have it up here, but I have to log in, but then I would have to take it. It'd be too much to do right now. If I had known you was going to ask me this, I would have had it pulled up. But so when I got up from the bed, I was done. I didn't fall asleep because, the kids was just doing too much, So I got done with my little bit of resting and everything. I was just pretty much laying there because the kids was coming in and out of the room by that time. And as I went to get up, I heard Yah said to me just as clear as day, he said, start wrapping your hair. And I'm like, and look, as I was, how you getting up off the bed and you may hear somebody say something in mid, turn around, turn to the side of the bed. That's when I heard it. I was getting up, turned to the side of the bed, and I heard him say, start wrapping your hair. And I did like this. I did just like that. So, and I just sat there for a second. And I'm like, and I did, and I took a deep breath. I ain't lying, I'm being straight up honest with y'all when I hear him say, and I sit there for a second, and I'm like, thinking of all the many reasons he could be telling me to wrap my hair now, right? And so I'm just like, okay, so all these things kind of went through my head. I was like, okay. I was like, Father, I don't know why. So I started thinking about all the many reasons. So you got some Hebrews that I call hate brews or whatever, the ones that stand on the side of the street corner hollering and yelling at people, yelling out scriptures and stuff and all kinds of craziness, right? I thought about them, and they really push the fact that your women head need to be wrapped, and women ain't got no place to teach in the church, and all this type of stuff. But the women, like, you know, the women need to keep herself covered and all this. And I was like, oh, Father, okay, whatever. You know, so I was like, well, maybe you might be drawing some of them to look at me reading the, you know, but probably most of them won't, simply because they find, most, I ain't gonna say all of them, but a lot of them find a hard time listening to a woman. I was like, they're gonna have a lot of issues. I said, because even, well, they would have had major problems when Deborah was in charge. And they didn't call her the king, she was the ruling judge, because they didn't have any kings at time, so they went through the period of judges where the judges ruled, and the judges were literally like the kings over Israel. So I'm like, okay, I was like, all right, whatever. I said, well, maybe some of you might be bringing, and all these thoughts are going on in my head after this time as I'm thinking, but about this time I had some head wraps. So while I'm thinking and stuff, I grabbed some of my head wraps, and I went to the bathroom, and I start practicing wrapping my hair. So I'm doing all this, right? So then I was like, well, you know, maybe there are some women that may not listen to me, and they think I need to be covered too. I was like, well, okay, Father, I don't really know which reason or why, you know, but you said it, and I'm just going to do it. You ain't never lied to me a day in my life. And when you tell me to do something, I know there's a good reason. You may not always tell me immediately, but I soon find out exactly why you tell me to do something, right? You know, and the head wrap is not something that's going to kill me. Although I like my hair free and flowy and stuff, you know, I was like, well, okay. I was like, maybe, you know, I don't know. Okay, Father. So doing all this, wrapping my hair, then later that day, when I was downstairs cooking. Yeah, I was cooking late. I always cook late for some reason, trying to get out of the habit. So at least eating by 6, but I didn't. I'm gonna just be honest. I was downstairs in the kitchen cooking. So, and as I was cooking, I was listening to some music and still thinking about the head wrap. And I got a big mirror right here, right across from my kitchen. So as stuff was cooking and stuff, and I was looking in the mirror, fixing it and everything. And then I heard Yahuwah say, he said, because you wear your consecration on your head, you know, he said, that belongs to me. And I'm like, and I had like this whole revelation about the Nazarite vow. Mind you, I've been in my vow for almost 2 years now, you know. So I'm like, oh, you know, not that all Nazarites cover their hair. Some do, sometimes, some do all the time, you know. So, but that's essentially why. Tiffany, make a long, well, I tried to make it short, but it was still kind of long. But that's essentially why, because of my vow, you know, and my hair. If you go back, like, we'll do again today, number 6, 1 through 21 explains that. And one of the things is that you can't cut your hair, you know, so, but, you know, as it gets, I can still get it, like, I still get it twisted, you know, but as I go on, I don't know that I really want too many people, and it's really only one person that I allow to do my hair anyway. But I don't really know what type of life they live inside their home. Not that I think that they're, you know, but anyway, because it's something sacred during the time of my vow, you know, I'll probably let it wolf a little longer, so meaning that it'll grow, longer without me getting it retwisted so often. I don't really get it twisted a lot. I probably get it twisted once every 5 or 6 months. So I may go even longer than that, you know. I may not, unless I do it myself, since y'all told me start wrapping my hair. And what's crazy was, look, I had a dream, and shucks, it's been a few months now, about my hair. I had a dream, right, that keep in mind, I didn't realize what this dream mean until the other day. I got you for the twist if you need it. Okay. But I had this dream a few months ago, and I didn't understand what it meant. So, a real short dream. I was standing somewhere, and there were 2 huge angels standing beside me, and they both had torches in their hand, right? You know, like the torch of the Statue of Liberty has a torch, something like that. But they were real torches, and they were on fire with real fire, right? So I'm standing there, and you know, they just had like a serious, but not like serious, but it was like a if you ever seen a military, like an on-duty face, that's the type of face they had. And so one of them leaned his torch over and touched my head. And I'm like, hey, my hair is on fire, And so he just looked at me while I'm like, you gonna help me put the fire out? But what the fire did, it didn't set me on fire. It was like when he touched my hair with the torch, it was a controlled fire, and it burned off all the dead ends and like the extensions that I had in my hair, and it left my hair, So that dream came back to me that later that night after Yahuwah said, because your head is consecrated to me, that belongs to me, it's holy, So during the time of your vow, that's what set apart for Yah is you're wholly set apart, but you specifically carry your vow on your head. And so that's when I knew that dream represented him sanctifying my hair. I'm like, oh snap, So yeah, Tiffany, that's why. So, but when I'm around the house, I won't always keep it wrapped, but most of the time it will stay wrapped most of the day simply because I get up here early. But when I go out in public, I definitely wrap it up, and seeing that even though I'm online, this is video, it's public, so many people are going to be seeing it. So I'll wrap my hair. So you'll see it wrapped for a very, 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 very long time, as long as I'm doing these morning videos. So, but yeah, that's Swabble, Trina. So, but yeah, at least for the next, I've been doing it for 2, so at least for the next 5 years, because I took my vow for 7 years. Some people are like, oh my gosh, why so long? Because I took a year, and I talked to Uncle Nathaniel about this, but I took a year, 1 for each child that I birthed and 1 for my husband. So that's 7 years. I have 6 children and my husband. So that's why I chose 7 years, But that's it. So today, beautiful people, happy Monday. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the Day of Atonement. You rested, you prayed, hopefully you fasted, hopefully you made it through the whole day. But this Friday coming up is the Sabbath, but it also begins the Feast of Tabernacles. Yep, the 2nd to the 9th. Remember, the first and the last day is a Sabbath, and it is also a no-work day. Actually, the first and the last day is a true Sabbath, because this month, all the Sabbaths fall on Friday. How freaking amazing is that, right? Okay, can't make this stuff up, guys, I tell you. All right, y'all, so today is day 262 of reading through the books of the law and prophets. Today we're in Proverbs 13, 14, and 15. Did I change that? Didn't change that. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get started. Proverbs chapter 13. A wise child accepts a parent's discipline. A mocker refuses to listen to correction. Wise words will win you a good meal, but treacherous people have an appetite for violence. Those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. Lazy people want much but get little, but those who work hard will prosper. The godly hate lies. The wicked cause shame and disgrace. Godliness guards the path of the blameless, but the evil are misled by sin. Some who are poor pretend to be rich. Others who are rich pretend to be poor. The rich can pay a ransom for their lives, but the poor won't even get threatened. The life of the godly is full of light and joy, but the light of the wicked will be snuffed out. Pride leads to conflict. Those who take advice are wise. Wealth from get-rich schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. People who despise advice are asking for trouble. Those who respect the command will succeed. The instruction of the wise is like a life-giving fountain. Those who accept it avoid the snares of death. A person with good sense is respected. A treacherous person is headed for destruction. Wise people think before they act. Fools don't, and even brag about their foolishness. An unreliable messenger stumbles into trouble, but a reliable messenger brings healing. If you ignore criticism, you will end in poverty and disgrace. If you accept correction, you will be honored. It is pleasant to see dreams come true, but fools refuse to turn from evil to attain them. Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Trouble chases sinners, while blessings reward the righteous. Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. A poor person's farm may produce much food, but injustice sweeps it all away. Those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children. Those who love their children care enough to discipline them. The godly eat to their heart's content, but the belly of the wicked goes hungry. Proverbs chapter 14. A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. Those who follow the right path fear Yahuwah. Those who take the wrong path despise him. A fool's proud talk becomes a rod that beats him, but the words of the wise keep them safe. Without oxen, a stable stays clean, but you need a strong ox for a large harvest. An honest witness does not lie. A false witness breathes lies. A mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it, but knowledge comes easily to those with understanding. Stay away from fools, for you won't find knowledge on their lips. The prudent understands where they are going, but fools deceive themselves. Fools make fun of guilt, but the godly acknowledge it and seek reconciliation. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share its joy. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the godly will flourish. There is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death. Laughter can conceal a heavy heart, but when the laughter ends, the grief remains. Backsliders get what they deserve. Good people receive their reward. Only simpletons believe everything they're told. The prudent carefully consider their steps. The wise are cautious and avoid danger. Fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. Short-tempered people do foolish things, and schemers are hated. Simpletons are clothed with foolishness, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Evil people will bow before good people. The wicked will bow at the gates of the godly. The poor are despised even by their neighbors, while the rich have many friends. It is a sin to belittle one's neighbor. Blessed are those who help the poor. If you plan to do evil, you will be lost. If you plan to do good, you will receive unfailing love and faithfulness. Work brings profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. Wealth is a crown for the wise. The effort of fools yields only foolishness. A truthful witness saves lives, but a false witness is a traitor. Those who fear Yahuwah are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. Fear of Yahuwah is a life-giving fountain. It offers escape from the snares of death. A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing. People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. A peaceful heart leads to a healthy body. Jealousy is like a cancer in the bones. Those who oppress the poor insult their maker, but helping the poor honors him. The wicked are crushed by disaster, but the godly have a refuge when they die. Wisdom is enshrined in an understanding heart. Wisdom is not found among fools. Godliness makes a nation great, but sin is a disgrace to any people. A king rejoices in wise servants, but is angry with those who disgrace them. He is angry with those who disgrace him. Last chapter for today, y'all. Proverbs chapter 15. A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words makes tempers flare. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge appealing, but the mouth of a fool belches out foolishness. Yahuwah is watching everywhere, keeping his eye on both the evil and the good. Gentle words are a tree of life. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. Only a fool despises a parent's wisdom. Whoever learns from correction is wise. There is treasure in the house of the godly, but the earnings of the wicked bring trouble. The lips of the wise give good advice, but the heart of a fool has none to give. Yahuwah detests the sacrifice of the wicked, but he delights in the prayers of the upright. Yahuwah detests the way of the wicked, but he loves those who pursue godliness. Whoever abandons the right path will be severely disciplined. Whoever hates correction will die. Even death and destruction hold no secrets from Yahuwah. How much more does he know the human heart? Mockers hate to be corrected, so they stay away from the wise. A glad heart makes a happy face. A broken heart crushes the spirit. A wise person is hungry for knowledge, while the fools feed on trash. For the despondent, every day brings trouble. For the happy heart, life is a continual feast. Better to have little with fear of Yahuwah than to have a great treasure in inner turmoil. A bowl of vegetables a bowl of vegetables with someone you love is better than steak with someone you hate. A hot-tempered person starts a fight. A cool-tempered person stops them. A lazy person's way is blocked up with briars, but the path of the upright is an open highway. Sensible children bring joy to their father. Foolish children despise their mother. Foolishness brings joy to those with no sense. A sensible person stays on the right path. Plans go wrong for lack of advice. Many advisors bring success. Everyone enjoys a fitting reply. It is wonderful to say the right thing at the right time. The path of life leads upward for the wise. They leave the grave behind. Yahuwah tears down the house of the proud, but he protects the property of widows. Yahuwah detests evil plans, but he delights in pure words. Greed brings grief to the whole family, but those who hate bribes will live. The heart of the godly thinks carefully before speaking. The mouth of the wicked overflows with evil words. Yahuwah is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. A cheerful look brings joy to the heart. Good news makes for good health. If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise. If you reject discipline, you will only harm yourself. But if you listen to correction, you will grow in understanding. The fear of Yahuwah teaches wisdom. Humility precedes honor. Hey, girl, hey. Okay, y'all. And that was our reading for today. That was Proverbs 13, 14, and 15. It is day 262, September 28th, 2020. Monday. I know I just did that backwards from when I normally do it. I normally say it's Monday, September the 28th, 2020, day 262. But anyway, it's year 2 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and in the consecutive day count is day 625 without the Sabbaths and the feast day Sabbaths added in. And if it was, we'd probably be knocking close to 800 right about now, because if you have 52 weeks in a year, that's 52 Sabbaths. So if we are in year 2, that's definitely 52 Sabbaths, and the Sabbaths from the year up to the current week, and then you go back and you add all the feast day Sabbaths like the Day of Atonement and Passover, the first and last day of unleavened bread and tents would have fallen on Sabbaths, even though we didn't catch that in the first year. You know, that's something that we just learn continually as we continue to study and watch the rising of the sun and the moon and how they operate using the lunisolar calendar, like Yahuwah says, so we can get the feast days correct. That's why I no longer follow what the corporate Jewish faith puts out about these days, because they call them Jewish feast days, and they are not. They are not. I don't know. People just gave them that name because the Jewish people were following them. But not only are they following them, they added other days in there that you won't hear me talk about, because we don't do them. Yah didn't command us to do them, and those are things that they set up as their own nation or whatever. But I'm sticking to exactly what Yahuwah said. He said, these are my feast days. These are my annual appointments for my people, and they should be followed forever in every generation. Every generation forever. And I would get into the sacrifices a little bit, but the sacrifices didn't have anything to do with it, because sacrifices were not required by y'all. Although you see it in there. Remember, we talked about there's leaven added to the loaf, and I talked about it. Was it Friday? No, I talked about it Saturday or Thursday. Anyway, the last day we was here together, we talked about it just a little bit. Speaking of that, girl, I need you and y'all to help me with chapter 72 through whatever. Chapter, you're probably talking about, well, you could be talking about 72, but if you're talking about, well, it does kind of further back. But I know talking about the sun and the moon and the stars and their rotation and how they operate and how they line up with nature and how you can know the days of the month and all that stuff. That's chapter Enoch 78 through 82. But you can't go back because it is talking about things in relation to the weather and the seasons and all that stuff. Girl, I just read it a whole bunch of times. I read it and I listened to it till I understood it. And of course, I prayed about it. And, and as I asked, I was like, this is something I can actually track. This is something that I can actually track. And that's how I began to understand it when I actually got out there. Because sometimes you can just read something or just listen to somebody and you just don't get it. But if it's something you can actually go test, okay, we can take this and test this over here. Like, you can literally walk outside your house and test it by watching the seasons. Like, we know when spring gets here, because it starts to change. And plus, you got the news telling you and all that stuff and the way things are set up with the school year starting or ending and all the different things that they got set up for different seasons. You kind of know what season if you're in. If you, even if you were totally ignorant of the calendar that they put out. But in Enoch, it goes into detail of what you will see happening in nature during these seasons. So although I knew when the seasons would change because, we've been taught it growing up, but they don't teach you like the book of Enoch does. I mean, I guess they kind of do just a little bit, but something that I started teaching my children, when you began to see the earthworms begin to come out, springtime is near. Because the soil begins to soften up and they're able to break through. And even when that started happening, I got super, girl, y'all, I ain't never been so happy to see an earthworm in the last couple years because I was actually testing this and I'm out here literally with my notebook daily basis going out checking the weather. I listen to the news and the weatherman and stuff, but I actually go out here and observe. So I'm looking at the ground. I was taking pictures of Tiffany, y'all know the ones that's in our family group. Look, y'all, I spotted the first earthworm. So that's how we knew that the spring feast days was coming. And then you track the moon. Okay, here. Okay, and I know the moon. So the next moon, when I see this earthworm is, so the ground starts softening up. So the next new moon, black moon, when it starts over, that's the first month of the year. So that's another thing. Like the world has everything backwards from what Yahuwah commands. So Rosh Hashanah, they call it Rosh Hashanah, but it's not Rosh Hashanah. It's the Feast of Trumpets. That's what Yah calls it because it's a day and you blow the trumpets. You blow it on the 7th month, the first day of the 7th month. But the Jewish community, they call Rosh Hashanah the beginning of the new year. And I'm like, and Yah said the beginning of the new year was back in March, April time frame in springtime. Matter of fact, during Passover. Matter of fact, he said this will be the first month of the year for you. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed. So how is y'all making the new year start many months later? Isn't that the natural process of life? Just think, guys. Everything that Yah says can be proven in nature. What's the natural process in a cycle of life? Just even think about the new moon. It starts off young, then it grows in age, then it dies off, and the cycle starts again. We're born into this world, into the womb we pass through the womb of our mother. We come into this world, we're small, and we age, and we die, and we go back into the dirt, right? And the cycle begins again and again. Not with that same person, but different children, with different people, but that process never changed. Same thing with nature. Look at nature. Springtime, everything comes to life. The flowers begin to bloom and bud, and it just the bears and animals come out of hibernation, and then it gets, as the year progresses, it gets older and it grows and the flowers die off and they go back into the ground and they sleep. The animals hibernate. The winter time, the year ends at winter, it begins in spring. Even the current calendar that we live on, Gregorian calendar, they have us beginning the new year in January, right dead in the middle of winter or starting of winter. How do you begin life with death? You don't. So that's I could literally talk about this all day because I'm like I'm like living in a big laboratory here, testing everything. So like I said, I'll listen to you, but then I'm gonna go check and see what you're saying is true, because some of what you're saying might be useful to me in my study on what I'm doing. So I'm doing it in a way to where I can teach my children, and they can actually use their eyes to verify information, and they'll be able to go and check. So even if some reason or way, which you probably won't, when we lose track of time, you can tell at least what month we're in. Even if you can't tell, well, actually guys, you can almost break this down to a science, even with the short months and the long months, according to the book of Enoch. Because the short months, when the moon is, when she's black, when she's, yay, Thailand, go for October. Know me? Hey, you can do it. You got this, sis. You got this. But the short months, you will know if you're tracking the moon. You will notice that when she becomes new or black, before she begins to show a little bit of that light, on the short months, she's completely black for 1 day. But on the long months, she's completely black for 2 days. So I was like, okay, where's the moon? Why it's not coming? So it took me, and then I look at my moon app, and so I'm looking at the data. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I go back to, I'm like, oh, snap. Oh, so the moon is actually not, it's not like it's actually like completely black. My seafood. Hey, step by step, Thailand. Step by step. Your body is going to love you for it. I'm telling you. I know. I did. I went from hard meat to then doing just I went from the red meat to just doing like chicken and turkey, and then for some reason, it's like, it was one time I went to go bite into a piece of chicken, I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, and I like, it was just, I couldn't do it anymore. And then I found out that turkey was a vulture, and I'm like, this is definitely unclean. So I stopped doing that, and then I was just doing fish for a while, and I definitely wasn't doing shrimp. I stopped eating shrimp a long time ago. You got to clean out the poop out of shrimp before you can even cook it. And you got to, I personally, if it ain't been deveined and all this stuff, I got to personally clean. No, we put that away a long time ago. But some comes really clean, and people don't think about it. Just fry it up or do whatever you do to it, saute it, whatever. But anyway, you'll progress. You'll keep going. I didn't go just like, yeah, you heard chicken is linked to cancer. I am going to post a video down here, and I know I've posted this video before. It is I've mentioned this before. Dr. Michael Clapper. He used to be I forget what type of doctor he was before he went completely holistic and opened his own like holistic practice. But he did a lot of studying, and he found out there were some interviews done where health inspectors who would go actually inspect the meat packing plants and stuff, they were interviewing him, and even they were specifically talking about chicken, right? And I think it was after I heard that, where the next time I was about to eat chicken, I could not bring myself to do it. Like, it's just like I couldn't do it, and I haven't. Since then, it's like it makes me want to throw up. And I know there's, some people like, oh girl, you was doing too much. Don't get brand new on us like you ain't never ate meat. I did, but I can't do it anymore. It's like I would, if somebody say you gonna eat that chicken or die, guys, I'll see y'all on the other side. That's how bad that I cannot bring myself to do it, But yeah, he said that they asked him his comments, and the health inspector said that, he said, my recommendation, I would recommend that you don't eat meat. As a matter of fact, that health inspector was plant-based. He went plant-based in the process of him actually doing his job and finding out what they do and what the FDA allows. If you don't already know, you would throw up if you understood what the FDA allows when it comes to processing flesh for human consumption, right? Even with milk, when you milk cows, that, oh gosh, they pasteurize it and stuff. But do you know that the FDA, they will allow up to a certain amount of pus and cow's milk to be in there. Like, you can't get that all out, y'all. I'm just like, oh, this is disgusting. Mind you, most black people are lactose intolerant anyway. Like, we were not made to consume any other animal's milk except for our own mothers. Like, when we're weaned off the breast, we have no more need for milk. As once we're weaned off our mother's breast, that we really don't. But they've made a whole industry of it. Got milk? Like, you can't live without it. Yes, we can. Matter of fact, it makes our people sick. Matter of fact, if you have asthma, here's a quick tip. If you have asthma, if your children have asthma, yep, we drink almond milk too. Thailand, sometimes we do the cashew milk. But I really still don't do a lot of that. I will use some almond milk in my smoothies and, coconut milk. Coconut milk I ain't got no problem with. But if you have asthma, you still eat meat and dairy, you may want to cut that out post haste, like right now, because that makes asthma worse. Like, once you clean, and I'm not giving, just in case somebody, I'm not giving medical advice, but it has been proven. You go do some research on your own and you decide. Look into this, that eating meat and dairy will make asthma a whole lot worse. Thailand, yeah. Certain allergies are triggered by certain things, so I'm not exactly sure, but I know 100% that asthma, asthma would be pretty much non-existent in your body when you do away with milk and dairy. You have to look at, have I seen a show, What the Hell? Not yet. But once you do away with the meat and dairy, you will see that your health gets better in that regard. And you got to look at like the packaging and the ingredients and stuff too, because sometimes they slip in milk and other stuff and milk byproducts into things that you may not necessarily know that is there. So if you're trying to do that, I would definitely say start reading the labels. But back to the chicken factory, right? Okay, so what he said was that the FDA, and here's what they call it, and it made me want to throw up, right? This is what they call it. Okay, so when they're processing the chicken, they clean it and everything. They clean out as much blood as they can. And mind you, let me tell y'all something. You cannot clean all of the blood out of flesh. You cannot. And you know how you can prove that? Sometime when you go get if you get packs of chicken or whatever kind of meat you get, and some people that's eating theirs rare and raw, first of all, that's disgusting. Second of all, we, Yahuwah's people, are not to consume blood. We're not to put it in our bodies. We're not to eat it. So you violate some health principles there, which is why it putrefies in your system, and people get all these health issues going on. The doctor, oh yeah, you can eat meat. No, you can't. Your body tells you can't, because over a period of time, you got health issues going on in your body, and it starts breaking your body down. Why? Because you're not supposed to be consuming it. It goes in your system and it putrefies, and it causes colon cancer, and it causes other types of cancers. And depending on how bad you have treated your body, your disease will manifest, whether it's breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, depending on how you've been, like I said, how you've been defiling and abusing your body. That disease will show up in that area that's the worst, that you have been negating the worst. So right, back to this chicken. They call it, once they cut it up and clean it, all that stuff, they rinse it all. What they do, they put it in these big containers. So you know how in factories they got like these metal tubs or whatever you call them. But anyway, and it goes off the conveyor belt, however they put it. But anyway, it's water in there, and they put it in there, and they put it in there. Here's what he said. They sit it in that water to let it soak up. You know how if you sit something in water, it soaks up the water and it makes it heavier. It increases its body weight. So they allow it to soak in that solution, that water, to get it a little bit heavier so they can sell it at a higher price. You know what they call that water, that the chicken soaking water? They call it fecal soup. Oh, that's so disgusting. They call it fecal soup, because think about it. I just told you can't clean all the blood and stuff out of it, and whatever that chicken was eating or whatever, because some chickens are cannibals. They really are. Some of them not getting fed just seeds and berries and stuff. I was even watching a chicken farmer, and he was talking about it. He said his chickens are cannibals, because it was gross for him to even go do it. One of his chickens had died, and he got this thing where he chop up stuff, and he just put the chicken in there. And I'm just like, and he just tossed it out there with the chicken feed and stuff, and the chickens ate it up. And it was funny because when he was telling the story, he said he was watching it. And he even called his chicken. He said, "Y'all are cannibals." And I'm like, dude, you cut up the chicken and fed it to him. I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. So chickens don't kill, unless I don't know. Chickens is a hybrid bird anyway. But anyway, yeah, so they call it fecal soup. And he said that he would recommend that nobody eats meat. He said, because this is just not good. So I'm going to post a link. That's Dr. Michael Clapper. And it's like 58 minutes long. Let me tell you, the entire documentary is good. It will keep your attention from the beginning to the end. He tell his little corny jokes or whatever. But it's really, really good information. He tell you a story about different patients that come into his office, and he take their blood and everything. And that's when he started paying attention to it, because one of his patients had come into the office to get some blood work done. You take the blood, it kind of settles and everything in a vial. And he noticed that his blood separated from the fat that he had just consumed before he got there. So when you consuming meat, flesh and fatty stuff, it goes right into your blood system, and so it takes a while for your blood to cleanse itself and process it through. But if you're constantly feeding yourself all this junk and everything, you're just constantly, that's all you're getting in your blood. And your blood can become, some people's blood become toxic, but their blood gets really dirty. And so he noticed that as his blood separated in that vial, that was the fat from like the Wendy's meal he had. I think it was Wendy's, he said, because he asked him, he said, Mr. whatever his name was, did you eat before you came here? He said, yeah, he had this, whatever it was. And he supersized everything, the fries and the greasy burger and stuff. And he said, yeah, he said, this is what this is. You can literally, I was like, wow. And he shows pictures of it. I'm like, yikes. So, that's when he began to do more study into that, and that's when he realized, and he started studying the plant-based life and eating, and how it literally transforms the body. Like when he did a study, he did a deep study. He had a lot of tests. He was testing everything, and he noticed he got some of the patients with some of the worst type of things. And he said that he noticed, he even talked about clogged arteries. He said that he noticed when they transitioned to it, they stopped eating like meat and dairy and stuff. He said he noticed that over a few months that those arteries, because he was constantly checking them, their arteries cleared up. And so your arteries like that, and it was like almost 100% packed. He noticed, he said, when you eat a plant-based diet, he said he didn't have to do any kind of invasive surgery. He said just by changing his diet to a lot of leafy greens and plant-based and cutting out the meat and dairy and all the other junk food and stuff, he said that stuff right there that clogged his arteries, it literally began to melt away. Like it literally began to melt away, and it cleansed out his arteries and stuff. So they didn't have any need for any kind of major surgery to reverse like heart disease and different things like that. Because living foods, when you consume living foods, a plant-based diet, they literally begin to repair the body. As when you put dead things in your body, I'm not against the meat eaters, but because I ate meat for a very long time, but I began to notice a difference in my body as well. You begin to look a little younger. Of course, you naturally lose weight. Different issues began to clear up. I was having like woman issues. Those issues are non-existent now. Like they clear themselves up. Your body begins to correct itself. Your body has everything that it needs to heal, if only you would help aid it. But if you keep putting things in your body that's going to destroy it, the body is just going to continue to break down until it can't repair itself anymore. And then you take your last breath. So I'm a big fan of eating well, eating a plant-based diet, eating things that will give you life more abundantly, and it's hard for some people simply because we were raised on diets that are not conducive to a healthy lifestyle, so But I had to retrain myself and teach my children, and my children will learn as I prepare meals for them, so they'll grow up eating well and learning to love vegetables and learning how to do all these different, recipes and stuff. Because at first it's like, oh my gosh, salad every day. What? I don't know about this, but some days I felt like that, but it's like, okay, Pam, you got to get a little creative here. We got all this plethora of fruits and veggies and stuff, and it really became more exciting once I started my own garden. So that's a whole nother level of growth and mentally that happens here, and like a deeper love for nature and an awe at the process of growth, and I'm at like my first year, my second year, I'm like, Father, I'm glad my children aren't vegetables, because Lord have mercy, they be dead. Some stuff died, some stuff didn't, but it caused you to think. But when something that I planted died, like it really hit me in like I don't know, like it really bothered me. I was like, oh my gosh, I killed you. How either I didn't overwatered you or didn't give you enough attention. It just hit you. For the gardeners, they know what I'm talking about. And I'm not a pro gardener by any stretch of the imagination. I've only been doing it for a few years. But yeah, Trina, it is hard to afford. And what's crazy is they make the things that kill you, the foods that kill you, a lot faster, so much cheaper and so much more affordable than the things that actually give you life. So yeah, eating a good, healthy lifestyle is a little bit more expensive. But if you have dirt, even if you ain't got no dirt, you can go get some pots and you can begin growing some of your produce and stuff. As much as possible, whatever it is you eat, you can grow that. They get seeds for everything, But yeah, guys, I got all into that. We was talking about the chicken. But yeah, they call it fecal soup. So after that point, I just could not bring myself to eat any more chicken. I couldn't, I would literally want to barf, So, and I really stopped making it so much for my family too. And I really transitioned my family at that point, because they're all transitioning to plant-based, and, working with my husband, he said, hey, if you can get some of these plant-based things down pat, he said, hey, I'm all for it, So, he liked a lot of plant-based dishes that I make. So, but yeah. But yeah, Thailand. That's why. So I'm gonna post that link to that video. Dr. Michael Clapper. Like I said, it's really good. It's 58 minutes long, but it will keep your attention from the beginning to the end. And it was life changing for me, because he gives a lot of details and data, but it's not like scientific. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what he's saying. No, it really explains it in a way where it will keep your attention. You're gonna understand everything, because he shows it's really good visuals. It's an older video, but he still, he shows good visuals, so you can see. That's why gardening is awesome. It is awesome. It's relaxing. You're out there. You're becoming one with nature, So, but all this is like a different level of learning and experience for me as I track things and weed out all the lies from the craziness you learn in religion and stuff. It's like, I'm completely done with that crap. Like, we're gonna sift, and go through this. We're gonna realize what's truth and what's not truth. And what's not truth, we're doing away with that crap. We ain't got time for that mess anymore. We just want to live a quiet and peaceable life, and we just want to be. We just want to be and grow our families and live life in peace, So, but that is all. And did I miss something I was saying earlier? I think that's what it is. We was talking about how giving up meat and dairy will literally cure you of asthma, like 100%. And I know I have a few friends that have actually done that, and some people, they're like, well, no, but you at least go test it. Don't just argue people down. At least go test and see if these things are true. So that's what, like I said, that's what I like to do. I'm not just gonna let anybody tell me anything. I don't believe nobody no more. I just don't. I'm gonna check what you say. I'm tired of people lying. So, but with that being said, beautiful people, numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this blessing. And if you miss the beginning, I was sharing with Tiffany, actually, number 6. She noticed I'm wrapping my hair, but at the beginning I explained about why. And the Nazarite vows are in verses 1 through 21 in chapter 6 of Numbers. And it's a little bit, well, it explains it in there, but it doesn't talk about head wrapping But some Nazarites do, some Nazarites don't, like I explained at the beginning or whatever. But I simply began to wrap mine because Yahuwah said to. He said, start wrapping your hair. And then I tell what transpired after that when he said, and I look like, you know, because some people really go in over head wraps and stuff, and I'm just not for the foolishness. I'm really not, you know. But since Yah said it to me, and then he told me why, I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of cool then. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, you know. So, but yeah, it's because I carry my vow on my head because I'm a Nazarite. All right, y'all. So, the blessing. Numbers chapter 6 verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name, whose name? Yah's name. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Who will bless us? Yahuwah. Yah will bless us. Nobody else. Nobody else's name. Only the name of the creator of heaven and earth. Yahuwah. All right, beautiful people. I love you. And I see you bright and early on the morrow. Peace.